Hello, SBL team. What I want to do in this short video is to demonstrate a way in which we can analyze our pre-seen case study to such an extent that we have all of the key information on one page, right? And so that helps us when we are getting ready to go into the real exam and so on, because it summarizes all the information about the industry and about the organization on one page, and it just makes it easier for us to remind ourselves of what the case study is all about. Now, there are a couple of things. The first is you cannot take your analysis with you into the exam. You cannot use it in the exam. All right, this is just for your own purposes of understanding and as a revision aid. The second thing is that you will, of course, have access to the whole of the case study in the examination, and that is useful to know, and you'll understand why in just a minute. Okay? So how do I recommend we address or we understand, analyze the pre-seen case study for SBL? Well, keep watching and I'll tell you. So on the left-hand side, I've got a split screen here, as you see. On the left-hand side, I have the pre-seen case study for the June 24 mock exam. It's produced by the ACCA. And on the right-hand side, this is my own invention. I've headed up pre-seen analysis, all the details of the particular exam, and then I've set up a SWOT analysis board. Okay, now you'll see that underneath that SWOT analysis, I've got some other information which may not easily fit into a SWOT. So I've left myself that place in which to make any additional notes. So what do we do next? Well, next we go through and we see that the first half of the contents are all about the industry, and then starting here with NC Tech overview, all right, we have the rest of it, which is all about the organization, which is called NC Tech. Okay, so then we go through the case study, and as we do that, we identify information which is key, and we put it somewhere into our analysis document. Okay, so what do we know? Well, it's a well-known company. Well, immediately we say, well, that's a strength, NC Tech. Okay, why is it a strength? Well, quite simply because if it's well-known, it's got a strong brand, and the brand can be leveraged to increase its profitability, its sales and profitability. Another strength, of course, is not a strength, rather, an opportunity, is that it operates as a tech company. It's a cloud service company. It operates in a developed country. So why is that an opportunity? Well, a number of reasons. Number one, you've got the tech infrastructure in place. All right, it's likely that you'll have lots of resources in terms of the people and the expertise in tech in a developed country. Okay. It then goes on to say it's home to many technological companies. So so this is simply reinforcing what I have just said. Lots of resources available. That's why it's an opportunity that we can leverage. Now, some of you might say, well, isn't that a strength? Well, it doesn't really matter. You can put in the strength box if you like. It doesn't matter, okay? The important thing is that we're getting key information out and putting it onto one document. It was founded by 3 software engineers. Now, that's interesting, and we'll see why in just a second. It has grown dramatically during its first 10 years of operation. Okay, grown dramatically during its first 10 years of operation. So it's actually great that it's grown rapidly or dramatically. The only thing is that all 3 of the owners are software engineers, and so basically this organization has gone along its life cycle. It's become a little bit more sophisticated as an organization. And therefore we immediately start to think, well, hang on, we need different skills than software engineering as a company becomes more mature. Okay, we need to know how to manage stakeholders, for example, and so on. We need to know how to manage our resources, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so this is, it's raising a question mark that the three owners are still in the most senior jobs, right? Executive directors. And so what I've done is I've put that into my other information: dramatic growth in 10 years, different stage of life cycle. Are the founders the right people for the job? Right? Okay, so moving on, it tells us a little bit about the industry. Okay, this is what they do. They offer data storage and various other computing services over the internet. It's competitively priced, and so it's financially viable for client organizations of all sizes, right? So immediately we see that the customer base, typical customer base, are SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as large organizations, okay? So that's why it's an opportunity. SMEs and individuals are key growth markets. Well, this is what it tells us in the next paragraph, okay? Cloud services industry in Finland has been established for more than a decade and continues to grow to meet needs and demands of the market, particularly amongst small and SMEs, medium-sized enterprises, and individual professionals. So here's an opportunity for us. We don't know where NC Tech is actually operating, who the clients are, or even what its products are, really, not yet. But we do know that there might be an opportunity in this target market. It then gives us some statistics. Oops, there we go. All right, percentage of client data stored in the cloud. Well, in Finland it's 38%. Globally it's 52%. So again, it looks as though there is opportunity for that market to grow within Finland. In terms of revenue generation, Finland is way behind the global levels of revenue. Okay, again, lots of room to catch up. Okay, and the market share, the top 10 companies have 85% of the market in Finland, but globally they've only the top 10 have 74%. All right, so in summary, what's that saying? Well, although the first two suggest that there is an opportunity for growth, the third one says that we've already got 85% of the market. Okay, now at this stage we know that the market is growing. Okay, and so, you know, there is an opportunity, we think, that even though we've got most of the market buttoned down, okay. So in terms of our SWOT, is there anything that we have up here? No, not really. Okay, then it talks a little bit about the various cloud service models. I'm not going to go through this in a huge amount of detail, except to say that we have 3 levels of service models: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Okay, now essentially they get more sophisticated as they go down. Okay, but apart from that, I'm not going to spend too long on going into the detail. Now, what do we know about NCT? Where are they in terms of their service offering? Well, we don't know anything yet. Okay, all we know is that there are 3 services. I'm not going to spend more time reading this. You can do this in your own time as well as I can. Okay, so those are the 3 service lines. And then we've got cloud service delivery. And here again, we talk about something called the public cloud. Oops, we call it the public cloud. We call it the private cloud, and we call it the hybrid cloud. Okay, so it's a different. So the public cloud basically offers the services on a pay-as-you-use basis, and it's for organizations and individuals. The private cloud offers these services to large businesses, okay? And then the hybrid cloud, as the name suggests, it's a combination of public and private models, okay? All right. Again, leave that alone for the moment. This is just a little bit of information, but I have made a note of it. I've said public versus private versus hybrid clouds, different customers. I've also said that, the IaaS and so on, I said there are 3 services, some portfolio analysis, and BCG may be required. We don't know yet whether that's going to be relevant or not, but whenever you see more than one product or service, okay, you start to think about portfolio analysis. And then it goes through a whole list of benefits of cloud services to clients. And again, I'm going to let you read this on your own, but these are things that you will need to be familiar with, okay? So we're not going to repeat all of this, we're not going to copy paste all of this into our table, although we could, there's nothing wrong with it, okay? But it's scalable, that's the first benefit. All right, cloud services, in other words, you can make it as large as you like. All right, instant access. All right, they don't have to wait until they invest in all the technology and the people and so on to have the service. They have enhanced security. Well, we certainly hope they do, because we don't want them losing our data. Okay, can be accessed and processed at any time from any remote location. So you can work remotely with cloud. You can share data more easily with cloud, and obviously you can work in diverse locations. Okay, supported and maintained so the maintenance is done by the cloud service provider. Okay, so the client doesn't need to employ people to do that, and they don't need the space to keep the hardware and the people and so on. Okay, so all of those are benefits. Now, I dare say most of you will know what clouds mean, what the cloud means rather, and so none of this should be any major surprise. What I've done is I've put it into other information. Cloud services are cheaper and more secure than in-house. I mean, I've just summarized the main issue. All right, but not a big problem. The next section, cloud service industry challenges and developments. The sector is growing very rapidly, anticipated to double in size over the next 5 years. It means both nature and extent of competition within the industry is likely to change over this period. So as soon as you see the word competition, you start to think of threat. Okay. And I should have put it in here. Where have I think I've already got competition. That's why I've already written competition down somewhere. There we go. Rapid increase in competition, global competitors, more demanding clients. Okay, that's there. More global competition. Yep, that's also included in there. Highly dependent on internet. Now that is a potential threat. Okay, that you've got, here we go, high dependency on internet service providers. And I've said, so that's a threat, and need to reduce the bargaining power of suppliers. So if these internet service providers, suddenly, multiply their costs 100-fold or whatever it is by using their bargaining power, because without their service we simply cannot operate, then that's called high bargaining power of customers. And we know from Porter's 5 forces model that is something that we need to address, okay, to reduce their bargaining power. Okay, obviously whenever there is any IT involved, okay, and there will usually be IT involved, there's always going to be the risk of hacking and so on, okay? So here we go, IT data security. I've said a threat, distributed denial of service. Okay, where basically you are inundated with questions or activity on your system and it doesn't allow you to do anything else. It's called distributed denial of service. Okay, regulations are another potential threat. Regulatory requirements, and they might become more expensive to keep. Increasing regulatory requirements, there we go. And of course, employees. It's a growing market. Clearly, the number of skilled employees for this market is not endless. Okay, and so this is a threat that we could lose our people. Okay, we could lose our people. Let me see if I've made a note of that. No, so I'm sure I have somewhere. It's a weakness, retention of key members of staff. This actually comes from later on when we're talking about NCT, and it becomes very clear that we're not keeping our staff. Okay, they keep leaving us. Okay, but staff shortage is a threat. There it is, reducing numbers of IT experts. I've got it. I do have it there. Okay, and then it talks about where the areas of growth are: business intelligence, quantum computing, AI, and machine learning. So I've put all of these four into the opportunities, okay, for growth. And then there's some KPIs. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these in detail, okay, but all I'm saying is reference KPIs in exam to evaluate a plan. So if we're told, should we do this or should we do that, we can always, as part of our discussion, say, well, if we do it, our average revenue per client, which is one of our key KPIs, is going to go down, for example, or our capacity utilization is going to improve. So it's a good thing, and so on. Okay, so that's why I made a note of it. Refer to the KPIs in the exam when you're evaluating a plan. All right, so have a look through those in your own time, but don't memorize all of them. You'll be able to access them in the examination as well. We now come to the company itself. Well-known cloud service company, established blah, blah, blah. We already know this from the previous section. Okay, now it operates as a public cloud services company, so it's public, okay, not private. So it's got, and its client base is SMEs, okay, and they work throughout the country. And then it tells you a little bit about what they offer, okay, what their service is. It tells you a little bit about the ownership, and you can read this in your own time. But essentially, the venture capitalists who supported this at the beginning have been bought out. Yes, they took the company public, they cashed in their shares, and that was that. The original shareholders still have 10% stake each. Okay, so that's 30% of the shares are owned by them. And then there are other institutional investors, but no one owns more than 10% of the equity. Okay, which means, of course, that, and I put this in the other information, no one owns more than 10, so it's likely that these external shareholders are going to have low power and low interest, unless they, of course, act together, in which case they may become high power. Okay? Right, then there's a bit of repetition, remain fully committed to the business, blah, blah, blah. And then they tell us that shares have done well recently, but there's been an unforeseen and significant fall in gross profit, which has affected the share price and unsettled some of the shareholders. So the threat is a fall in the share price, because suddenly, we could have a hostile takeover bid, so that's a threat. And we've had a fall in GP, in gross profit, so that's a weakness. Okay? All right. It then tells us the board is generally free to run the business in the best interest of the whole company without any direct or significant interference. So there are no external stakeholders. And that is perhaps, apart from, of course, the customers, and that is perhaps slightly worrying because, on the one hand, there are no checks and balances, right? There's no one from outside saying, no, you can't do that. That's not good for your shareholders, for example. On the other hand, because you don't have significant external influence, it means you can make decisions more quickly. Okay, so both of these, it's a double-edged sword, as with most things in life. All right. What else? Vision, mission, and corporate values. So again, what I've done is I've just put in the vision somewhere. There you go. I'll put the vision in there. All right, leading cloud service providers in Farland. And basically, again, this is a reminder, for myself that when I come to just before the exam, I will look at how they're going to form their vision, how they're going to achieve it, and I would look at all of this. Okay. So I've just put it in there for the moment. And that includes the core values. And then we go on to the board of directors. Oops, excuse me. And we see that there's a non-executive chair, and reporting to the chair, 5 non-executive directors, and there are 5 other executive directors. So you've got 6 executives and 6 non-executive directors. So it's a balanced board, which is good. And you've also got 4 subcommittees: audit, nominations, remuneration, and risk. And they all seem to have a reasonably good balance of people within each one. So that's why I put here, it's a balanced board, 6 and 6, 6 executives, 6 non-executives. And I've also said 4 subcommittees. And it tells us NC Tech is fully compliant with the code. So here we are, the 4 subcommittees, and it's compliant with the code. All right. So these are all strengths. Why are they strengths? Well, because stakeholders are more willing to deal with organizations that have strong corporate governance, and it looks as though these guys do have strong corporate governance. Okay, so whether it's banks or customers, suppliers, it doesn't matter. All right, then it talks a little bit about the risk register and what the main risks are. Again, I wouldn't spend too long on this at the moment because we will review it before we go into the exam, but there's no way that we're going to be expected to remember all of these risks. Okay, the fact that they tell us about risks, the fact that they have a risk committee, however, strongly suggests that there is going to be a question, or certainly part of a question, on risk and risk management. So make sure that you are familiar with that area. Okay, and then it gives us some more strengths and weaknesses, and I've simply copy-pasted the ones that I didn't already have in there. I've simply copy-pasted them into my table here. And then we have some numbers: performance dashboard, got some financial performance, revenues, gross profit margin, profit before tax, and return on capital employed. Okay, so these are accounting in many senses, accounting adjustments. And then there's some more operational performance, right? Security breaches and service availability. So these are KPIs, really. Okay. Now, with the numbers, please don't spend ages and ages learning the numbers, memorizing them, doing any analysis on the numbers, because you won't remember them and it's a waste of time. Okay. However, it is important that you know that these things exist. They are there. All right. So in the examination, if you want to say, well, I know client average satisfaction rating went down in X2 but has come back up again, and so our clients are still happy, and what we must be doing something right. What I think we're doing is XYZ, and that's improved client satisfaction. Okay, so know what is here, but don't spend too long on writing about it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my SWOT. Okay, nice and easy, and you see it's not very long, it's not very detailed. There you go. All right, but it's really cut down the amount of information that you have in the pre-theme case study onto one page, and makes it much easier to read. And that's it. We're waiting now for the examination, which we're going to have a go at. Bye.